Today I'm joined by Stevie Rachelle of Tuff, who is on his way out to Australia as a part of the Trixter, Lorraine Lewis, Femme Fatale, and Tuff triple bill uh, later this month. Welcome to the Rock Pit. Welcome to episode 4 of 50 Shades of Slaids, and welcome back to Australia. How are things, Stevie?
Hey Andrew, all good here. I'm stoked to return. This will be my third trip down under. I first went about 20 years ago. I think it was either 2006 or 7. I played Sydney and Melbourne. I did it with Jules and the Dead Things, and people know him also from White Widow. Great guy, and the promoters were Milan and Millie. Awesome people. The band was great. Everybody I got to hang with was awesome. And then, of course, as most know, I was there for the Glam Fest run, which was with Faster Pussycat, Wednesday 13, Eclipse, Enough's Enough,
A
and
whole cast of characters, that one.
a whole cast of characters, and of course, Tough. And I brought Stevie Rachelle. Yeah, I brought him. I brought Mr. Todd Chase and Billy Morris and Todd T. Burr. But this time I'm coming solo. Stevie Rachelle, the voice of Tough. I'll be doing a set of Tough music with some local guys from the band Voya. So I'll be on my way here in about, I don't know, I think Sunday night my flight leaves. I'll be there by Tuesday and knock out a quick rehearsal or two. And then it's on to the shows with Trixter and Lorraine Lewis. I can't wait.
Fantastic. Now, the boys that you have supporting you, all great guys, all buddies of mine. You'll have an absolute blast with those guys. Top tier
Awesome.
musos and great people.
Awesome.
So, um, I guess there's been some big news. I guess if we detract slightly from the tour, but we talk about what's been going on in the world of Tough. There's been some big news in the last couple of weeks. Michael Lean has returned to do a show with the band, and looks as though he's doing some more shows with the band, which sees two of the three from the What Comes Around Goes Around era back with you on stage. How was that working with Michael again after all these years?
It's great. Me and Michael have stayed friends the whole way. He left the band in 1993, and it was no bad blood. He just had wanted to pursue business. Also, Michael was a father before any of us. Michael actually became a father when he was a teenager. And by the time 1993 rolled around, his son is, 6, 7 years old, getting ready to start school, and the importance of, a father being available for his son as opposed to going on a fall tour for 2 months with a bunch of misfits in a van
Yeah.
down by the river, as they say. Michael, decided to check out after doing, all of that music stuff for most of his, adult life and some of his teen years as well, to be a father and to start a business, which he's become very successful with. And then, along the way, he's popped up at some shows, and he's popped into a studio when I was mastering something, and when I did vinyls or CD releases, he always wanted them. He's got the vinyls framed in his office, and a couple of years ago, he said, "Hey, I want to come down and get up and do a couple songs. What do you guys think?" So, that was originally 1 or 2 songs, and then it turned into 3 or 4, and he had a lot of fun, and then we decided to do a little rehearsal together and do a little bit more extensive jamming with him, and he said he wanted to play some shows. So Michael has essentially returned. And if there's ever a point though when something gets offered to me and it doesn't make sense for everybody or everybody's not available, I will pivot and do as I can. I do some shows, and when I do it individually or as a solo artist, I do it as Stevie Rachelle, the voice of Tough.
Yeah.
And I've always done that. And I might even fly a backdrop and obviously sell the merchandise and play a lot of the songs. But I try to make it that if it's going to be represented as Tough and Tough, the band, well, then it's got to be myself. And in the last 15 plus years, Mr. Todd Chase has been back in the band. And now, obviously Michael. So we'll be 3/4 strength of the classic lineup, so to speak. And last weekend in Ohio went great, and looking forward to some more dates in the future, including the cruise. The Monsters of Rock cruise is in April. We have some West Coast dates in the summer, which myself, Michael, and Todd will be playing. But Billy Morris, our main guitar player, will not be here for the summer because he's got a bunch of stuff happening as well. So we got a couple of subs that we run in and out of the band. And Dougie Licks Manross will be playing guitar for us this summer, and he's done a few dates in the past. So All is well here in Tough World.
Sounds it absolutely. I mean, the magic of having, I guess, Todd and Michael with you. Does it make you want to go and write new tough music?
Absolutely not. I mean, it's like I just watched a video today about Jizzy Pearl saying that he's going to make a new record, and it's got to be inspired within, whether it's myself or all of us collectively. And at the end of the day, it just doesn't make sense for everybody. And so when the fan comes up to me and goes, "I really want you to make a new CD. When are you going to do something new?" I ask them this: what records from Tough, CD, vinyl, cassette, do you own? And which solo records of mine do you own? I often get, well, I have the debut. Okay, well, there's 10 or 12. So why do you care if we're going to do another record?
Yeah,
You only bought the debut.
yeah,
You didn't buy the second, the third, the live record. You didn't buy the best of, the compilation.
yeah,
So, you know, there's a very, very limited interest in bands of our ilk, age, you know, with our history, where fans actually want to buy the record.
yeah,
Are there some? Sure, there's a few diehards. And when I
yeah,
say a few, you take 1,000 people in a crowd, maybe 25 or tops 50 want it. That's
yeah,
5%.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
So, and the cost to do it, overhead and packaging and never mind, I'll debate this with anybody
yeah.
that says, well, you can record at home for free. It's like, yeah, you can also. I could build a roller coaster in my backyard as
Yeah,
well with lumber, but it's probably going to suck. So, um, you have to have the right, not only having the technology, but
yeah,
the skills to do it.
yeah,
And as far as recording at home is concerned, or home studios, the guys that are doing it the best are the guys that were originally doing it on 8 tracks and 4 tracks and full studios and bouncing and learning all that stuff. The
yeah,
guy that goes online and goes, "Hey, I found this app. It's $1.99. It's called GarageBand, and I can do all the guitars." And it's like, okay, good luck. You
yeah.
probably could build a race car too, but it's probably going to get last place. So good luck for you.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Now, I'm glad you brought up the topic of vinyl and diehard fans. I'm one of those diehard fans.
Yep.
I bought Religious Fix and I bought Fist first, sort of day of release, or as soon as I could find them here in Australia.
Yep.
Now, we were probably a little bit different here to getting exposure to Tough initially. We had to do shit the hard way, I guess. It was Metal
Right.
Sludge magazine, it was Rip magazine, it was Hit Parader, it was all of those things. It was looking through mailing lists and trading lists for a lot of stuff, and that's how I
Yep.
actually came across Religious Fix. I think it was a little ad in the back of a magazine.
Yep.
Now, I guess where this ties in is that with the career that Tough had in that original lineup era, from What Comes Around to Religious Fix, did you ever think that the band would have that kind of longevity and that kind of appeal to a broader bunch of fans, and certainly a broader bunch of international fans?
At the time, well, I mean, your question is what? Do I think we'd still have an appeal in 2026, or did I think that we'd have an appeal to fans in Australia and South America and Europe? I mean, in 1987, all bets were off. We were the next biggest band to come. Or that's
Absolutely.
what we thought, and we were reigning supreme in Hollywood, which was by far and away the melting pot of everything that was for this kind of music, starting with the Doors and Van Halen in the late, in the 70s, and then you had Motley and Rat and Wasp and Metallica and Armored Saint, and then you got the next level, the Poison and the Guns N' Roses and LA Guns and Faster Pussycat, and then you got Warrant and Tough and Racer X or whoever else was
Yeah.
coming. We were sure that we had fans everywhere. Um, but if you would have said to me in 1990, 88 or 90, 1990, hey, do you think in 2026 you'll play in Australia and Brazil and Germany and be on some big cruise ship with 50 bands floating around the ocean? I would have said absolutely not. Zero chance that's going to happen. But the fans have spoken. Dare I pat myself on the back? My hard work has spoken.
Yeah.
I never went away. I've been doing this for 40 years. And what you see behind me, even though the CD is now almost as dead as a dinosaur, I've put out over 50 products just on CD.
Yeah.
I did cassettes, I did VHS, I did DVD, and then eventually, when the vinyl came around, as we were just talking about, I started putting out the vinyl. Now this was no easy feat because this was an Atlantic Records
Yeah.
release, and I signed a licensing deal through Rhino Entertainment Warner Music Group, which allowed me to remaster, repackage, reissue, and re-release this
Yeah.
on both CD and vinyl. Um, and I did that in 2021 for the 30th anniversary. Then I did it for Fist First
Yep.
in '94. Of course, we had the where the hell is the glam years, which is
Years.
all just a
Yep.
compilation of all of our early '80s demos, including the ones that had Jim Gillette on it when he sang
Yes.
in Tough, you know. And so I reissued Jimmy's debut solo record,
Yeah.
Proud to Be Loud, which he did with Michelangelo, right as I was joining Tough. And then of course the band that I managed from Sweden for about a decade was called Veins of Jenna,
What an
which
incredible band.
we put out some CDs and got signed to BAM's label. That ran its course,
Yeah.
but I still retain the right to, you know, distribute, sell, and put out those records. And for the diehards, I'm so thankful because they
Yeah.
do help make it go. And but it's a lot of work. And you got to bet on yourself because sometimes you put money into something and it might not always pay off. Just like what a big record label would have done if they spent a couple $1 million on some baby band and then things change or they just drop the band and or the
Yeah.
band breaks up and so okay, well, throw that money in the garbage, you know.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Um, and I mean, I got to commend you too on the attention to detail in all of those releases. The vinyl releases are just stunning, might I say.
Thank you.
That's not kissing your ass. That's as a collector and as a fan. It's just the
Mhm.
attention to detail is beautiful. The gatefold and what comes around is just
Yeah,
magnificent.
which is something I wanted to do from the first time I bought Shout at the Devil in 1984
Ah,
and I opened it up and I was like, "Oh my
holy
god," you
shit!
know?
Yeah.
And you know, our original record was released in America on CD and cassette.
Yeah.
In Europe, it was released on CD and vinyl.
Vinyl. Yeah.
And then in Asia, it was only released on CD. So the only vinyls of What Comes Around Goes Around were floating around Europe for, you know, a few years. But
Yeah.
because we never sold millions and millions of records, there was obviously a limited amount pressed. At that point,
Yeah.
the turning of the decade, 1990, 91, vinyl was for the most part being discontinued
Yeah.
because CD had become the premier physical product.
Format. Yeah.
Um, so then to get your hands on an original Atlantic pressed vinyl is hard, and if you do, it's on Discogs, and good luck getting it for under two or $250 a piece. You know,
Exactly. I'm lucky to be sitting on an original copy as well as
awesome,
the re-release. So yeah, yeah, absolutely. So
awesome.
that's what we did. I mean, I've got the original pressing on CD and vinyl. I've got a lot of home videos. As a fan, I mean, again, it was those little ads that I saw. Send your money here or your money order here, and get this incredible VHS package, which they're great. I fondly remember those. I don't have a player anymore. I'd love to revisit them someday. Any plans on popping them onto DVD or on a
All
streaming
those are on
service?
DVD.
They are all on DVD.
Yeah,
Yeah,
all four of them. Well,
damn it.
actually, so what you're talking about is you probably bought from me when you saw those color
Yeah,
advertisements
yeah,
in Metal Edge
yeah,
and in Hit Parader.
yeah.
I bought those.
Right.
So I would sell the CDs and then eventually the DVDs. We did What Comes Around Goes Around, the home video.
Yes.
We did Religious Fix, the home video. Then we
Yes.
did a video, a VHS called The Decade of Disrespect.
Respect.
And it
That's
was
the
a
one.
2 hour, yeah, video that
Yeah.
showed us just like, and we mimicked everything we saw in the Motley Crue home videos or the Poison or the Panteras of
Yeah.
us backstage and
Yeah.
arguing in the studio and throwing shit at each other on stage and destroying hotel rooms. And so then what happened is after a few years, when the VHS did go out of favor,
Hmm.
I had, as a matter of fact, I don't know what the company's name is off the top of my head. I don't have a set of those DVDs right here. A guy in Australia actually did all the authoring, which is the
Right.
term that they take for putting the VHS onto a DVD. And so when you go through, there's a menu. So you can
Chapterizing.
fast forward to this or
Yeah.
go to this section. So we did all three of those. Plus, we did a fourth DVD called Rockin' Rarities. And it's got about 30 or 40 songs from over the years that we played at different shows. Stuff that a lot of it never made any kind of record
Yeah.
or proper recording. So there's songs I think like, you know, Bad in Bed or Spin the Bottle or some of these really early glam songs that we played on a couple of shows. And a lot of those are on those DVDs. So there's a 4 DVD set that you can buy in my store. You can buy them individually or collectively as a group. And they are all silver pressed,
Yeah.
factory authored disc with menus and an insert, and gives you the whole breakdown of what's in there. So
Well,
people always get a kick out of that because you get to see behind the scenes, you know.
absolutely. And again, as I said, I haven't seen them since the days of VHS, but I'll certainly have to go and check all of that out. Now, the one piece that's missing on vinyl is Religious Fix. Is there, or are there any plans to go and release that and give that the same treatment as Fist First? And
No, no, and I'll tell you why. And you already probably know that Religious Fix is basically Fist
it
First with
is.
3 more songs.
Yeah.
And what happened with that is in 1992 we're still on Atlantic Records, and they gave us some money to demo songs for the second record, which we did. We went in and recorded, I think it was 9 songs, and we finished 6, which was like God Bless This Mess, In Dogs We Trust, Rattle My Bones, Electric Church, Better Off Dead. I can't think of what's the name of the damn song. I got a peek. It's called I can't have Simon Says. There we go.
Simon
So
Says, yeah.
we finished those 6. Then there was a few others that we didn't finish. But at the end of the day, Atlantic said, "See ya. No longer interested. We signed Stone Temple Pilots, and we're going to put them out instead."
Yeah.
So then what I did is we did a couple other demos with Randy Canner, which included the "I Like What I See" song, "Tied to the Bells," 16 Tons, which was a cover.
Yeah.
And so then at some point, we signed another deal with a label called Grand Slam IRS in 1993.
Yeah.
I made sure that the contract had a clause in it that once we signed the deal and they gave us our money and we gave them the masters, they had 180 days to release it. It had to come out within 6 months. If it did not get released within that 180 days, they essentially would breach their contract. I get my masters back, we keep the money, and we walk.
Well,
That's exactly what happened. They never put it out in
wow.
time. And I put that in there because we know the story now, like our friends in Wildside. Our friends in Wildside signed a record deal about the same time that Tuff did. We signed in May, well, we announced it in May, June of 90. We actually signed the contract in October, and we were recording in December, and the record came out in May. So within a 12-month period, we went through everything, and the record was in the stores. We were on the road.
Yeah.
Wildside's Under the Influence record didn't come out till like mid 92.
No.
Their process took almost 2 years.
Yeah.
And that was because Andy Johns was doing something with Eddie Van Halen, and this guy was doing that, and they got to worry about this studio for this time. And ultimately, the guys are sitting around, and when that time burned off, the grunge and the 90s era just infiltrated all that much more.
Yeah.
So by the time they really got the record out, they were really behind the 8 ball, so to speak.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Absolutely.
that was my process, is to get the record out within 6 months. Well, they failed. So at the end of 93, early 94, I'm now sitting on the masters again, which were originally paid for by Atlantic Records, and they got rid of us. Then we signed to this other label, and then they reached their contract. So I just said, screw this. I'm putting it out myself. I'm starting my own record label today, and I'm going to call it Record Label Suck Records.
Yeah.
That's literally what happened. And that was RLS. And then the secondary meaning is Rachelle's Lyrics and Songs.
Right.
That's the second meaning of those 3 letters. So I then put that record out. I start selling it on CD and cassette, uh, putting ads in the magazines like you saw. And then at some point, we had some labels start to show interest because we had moved several thousand units. We're in the magazines, we're on tour. And so a label came to us and said, we want to buy the rights to that record and reissue it with bigger distribution. So we started negotiating with MMS Mausoleum, and they were a European label. And they just said, well, we want to change the title,
Yeah.
change the artwork, and we'll give you some money to go cut a couple more songs. So we have something that gives it a little bit of a differentiates it from Fist First, that really
Yeah.
just fixes. It's got different artwork, a different title,
Yeah.
and a couple more songs. So then we put that out, and in my contract with them, the clause is that I retain the rights to continue to sell Fist First as a
Ah.
extended EP
Yeah.
with the same title, the same songs. They own the rights to Religious Fix
Right.
and that mastered version, art, and those other couple songs.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I won't ever touch that. But I did do the Fist First on vinyl, which came out amazing, and
Yeah.
there you have the story. So that's why I couldn't have done what comes around goes around either, unless or until I acquired the licensing agreement with Rhino Entertainment Warner Music Group, who controls the catalog of the back catalog of stuff from WEA. WEA is for Warner
Electra
Electra
Atlantic.
Atlantic.
Yeah.
So they control the Atlantic catalog, which we were part of, and that's how I got that.
Fantastic. Wow. It's what a journey, but I mean, what a stroke of genius putting that 180-day clause in that second contract.
Yeah,
Congrats, that's
thank you.
fantastic. Now, if we touch back on the tour, I mean, coming out with Trixter and Lorraine, what's your association been with those guys? You know, in the last sort of 2 years.
Well, me and Steve Brown, we have become BFFs. I love Steve Brown. He's an amazing person, first and
Yeah.
foremost. He's a dear friend of mine. We spent a ton of time on the phone more than anything because he lives in New Jersey and I live in Los Angeles. So back in the day, I didn't really know those guys, and I had really never actually met them that I knew of.
Yeah.
But it was Steve Brown who reminded me many, many years later. When I say years later, like probably about a decade ago, he reminded me we played on something, I don't know, the Cruise or M3 or one of these festivals. And then he came up, we were talking, and he said, yeah, do you remember that time we were at Rick Rubin's? And I was like, what? So Rick Rubin was the guy from Def Jam,
Def Jam.
who
Yep.
then formed Def American and did, the Beastie Boys and Slayer and Black Crowes and all that. Tuff, myself and Michael Lean, we were being courted by them, by
Yeah.
Rick Rubin and his partner George Tricolius from Def American, to sign Tuff in or around 88
Right.
or early 89. So we at some point went to his office to meet him to go to lunch. And as we were walking in, this cute little long-haired, dark-haired kid walked out. I was like, hey, bro, what's up? Blah, blah, blah. In 20 seconds and he was gone. I didn't realize until many years later that was Steve Brown.
Wow.
So he happened to be in LA because I think they were actually showcasing, and he was doing something with the guys at Def American. And so then myself and Michael, we went to lunch at Barney's Beanery with Rick Rubin and George Tricolius, and they wanted us to go over the top glam. And at this point, we were trying to remove ourselves
Yeah.
from the glam, the glam thing that was, clouding us. That's when we started writing stuff like Good Guys Wear Black and Ain't Worth a Dime, just a little bit more
Yeah.
metal, And we were getting rid of all the pinks and the fluffies and the feathers and doing more black leather.
Yeah.
So either way, but those guys in their meeting were like, yeah, we want you to be like David Bowie, stacked platform heels and huge, makeup faces, and just what he was describing was essentially, what Marilyn Manson became some years later,
Yeah.
just like
Yeah.
this
Right.
goth glam, android from the future, this monstrous looking glam monster guy, whatever it was. But we didn't want to do that. But either way, George and Rick and myself and Michael had a great meeting and we went our separate ways. Well, many years later, Steve Brown recalls that story and tells me, and I was like, oh yeah, that's right. So Trixter and Tuff never played together back in the day. We never hung out. We never even really knew each other because we were so far apart, and they were on one tour, we were on another. But in the last several years, me and Steve Brown have become besties. I love him. He's awesome. PJ's a great guy.
Yeah.
And we're all connected now because Steve produced like some of Lorraine's music, and I'm friends with Lorraine as well, and she's out here, and now we're all gonna go down to Australia. So it's gonna be Trixter, me, Lorraine's gonna open, and I guess maybe some local bands will start the show early in the day. But that's how my connection with Trixter goes. And Steve's an awesome guy and a
Yeah.
super talent, awesome singer,
Incredible talent. Yeah. Yeah,
awesome,
absolutely.
awesome.
So I guess that sort of we're pushing 30 minutes now, and I thank you for your time again. Just
We can go if you got a couple more, spit them out. I'm good.
absolutely cool, awesome. Okay, Metal Sludge, the hat that you're wearing, the
Yep,
website that took the world by storm and by shock, I guess, at the same time.
yep,
Just had a revamp, fresh new little streamlined look as of earlier this week. Looks fantastic.
yep. Thank you. Yeah, I mean, it's crazy to think that in the summer of 1998, I had this idea, and the internet was just so new. It was it was in an infant stage. There was no social media. And what's crazy is over the years, when all these other social media platforms started popping up, and I'd hear about them, I'd be like, oh, that's cool. And at some point, I did, an article that kind of encapsulates how Metal Sludge was founded and
Mm,
formed in the early years. And then at some point, I thought it would be cool to put it in, literally in black and white, so to speak, on the article, in the article. Metal Sludge started in 1998. And then you got MySpace, which was 2000 something,
yeah,
and then eventually Facebook and Instagram and, this video channel. I remember when they were talking about YouTube coming out, I was like, wow, so you can put a video on there of like yourself, of your band, or, your kid jumping in the pool, whatever. And now to think of how massive those platforms have become. MySpace obviously went away or is for the most part defunct,
yeah.
as is MTV. But Facebook is bigger than ever, as is Instagram and X or Twitter, and then there's so many now. I can't keep
Yeah.
up with them, but it was a pretty interesting time because I didn't know anything about the internet. I just barely got a computer in 1997,
Yeah.
and a cell phone. So a year later, I was like, well, the magazines they're not giving me a lot of press. I really kind of did see the writing on the wall that the magazines were going to go away with the advent of the internet and
Yeah.
devices. So I thought, let me start a website and let
Yeah.
me start one that's got an edge to it. And we're going to steal the Metal Edge name and tweak it a little bit and just have some fun with it. And that's really what it was in the beginning. I never thought I'd make money off it.
Mm,
I never thought it would get as big as it did. And now it's 28 years later
yeah.
and I'm still here.
It's crazy to think that something has had that kind of longevity. I can't think of any print magazines that really have had that run aside from, I guess, Rolling Stone, uh,
Right.
and maybe Circus Magazine. I guess if you look back, and that's
Yeah. I
probably
mean,
not even as long. So that's it's a really significant thing that you've done for the music industry.
yeah. Well, and the thing is, what's really nice is over the years, I've had a lot of guys from bands, and I'll leave them all nameless for this, but I've had a lot of guys from a lot of known bands, guys that are legends and iconic in the music industry that have been around since as late as the 70s and in the mid 80s selling tens of millions of records. And they basically said, you know what you did was necessary and
Yeah.
it was good, you
Yeah.
know? Rest in peace to Kevin DeBro. He was one of the first ones to come forward, and he told me at some point, he said, Stevie, you stuck your foot so far up everybody's asses,
Mm,
mine included, and we all deserved it. Bravo, my friend. I want to shake your hand. You
right.
know, um, and that really was the agenda is
Yeah.
to talk about the industry, but also talk about the inside behind the scenes, what really goes on, and maybe even tell a little bit, share a few of the secrets that, a lot of these guys aren't who you think they are.
Oh no. Oh
You
no.
know, there's a lot of great guys in this business. There's a lot of good men, stand-up men. there's also a lot of fucking phonies,
Yeah.
guys that are pieces of shit and should be exposed at the highest level at all cost. And I have no regrets in doing what I did to some of them, you know. Of course, everything changes. You know, things that happened in 1998 or even 2005, when I was in my early to mid 30s, I would have a different approach today as a
Yeah.
60-year-old man who's the father of children
Yeah.
who are now adults as well. But, you know, the thing is, when something happens, for instance, and now it's been sad that we've had to report on death
Yeah.
over the last many years.
Yeah.
It's never fun to report that somebody has passed away. And there's been some guys that have died that were somehow maybe affiliated with the industry, but maybe they weren't right in the sludge demographic. And then I wouldn't report on it, and I would get yelled at for it.
Yeah.
How dare you not mention his passing? You know, he was important, and you're a jerk, or you know, no matter what you do, and you know this as well as anybody, just with social media. If you go online and go, yeah, I really like the new McDonald's McRib,
Mm.
you're gonna get half the people go, that's actual dog meat. It's the worst tasting thing ever. McDonald's is a scam, and they
Yeah.
should shut all those locations down. And so you could go left and everybody else goes right. You
Right.
could go up and everyone wants to go down. You say yes, they say no. And it's been like that with Metal Sludge forever. If I do an article and it's detailed and exposes or tells a lot of the history of somebody, there's going to be people that agree with it
Mm.
and are thankful. And then there's going to be people that are, that's not what happened.
Yeah.
I know a friend whose sister's brothers was the roadie of the uncle that knew the guy that was there when the car, you know, it's just like, whatever.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Yeah.
you got to take it with a grain of salt,
Yeah.
you know, but Sludge is still alive and well in 2026.
Yeah. And I mean, I guess one of my favorite segments on there is actually the Tough Diaries, which takes us through your journey, through your
Thank
eyes
you.
and your words, which is just fantastic. You know, a great little insight to everything that is you and that is Tough's music. Um, if I can pick your brains, what are your thoughts on Sebastian singing for Twisted Sister?
Could not be a better guy to do it.
Absolutely.
100%, you know, and I've seen people, you know, or D himself saying there's no other guy other than my
Yeah.
son or Sebastian. I think I've met Jesse at some point, and I know he's obviously he's the DNA,
Yeah.
but I think Sebastian brings more to the table because he's a known entity in this industry. Not that Jesse's not, but Sebastian's obviously he was at the end of the 80s, for what it's worth, after 20 years of rock from the 70s and the 80s, and we're talking, or from the end of the 60s, when you're talking Robert Plant and Steven Tyler and Roth and all those guys. I mean, Sebastian was the the guy in 1989, and I do remember myself thinking, oh shit, you know.
Mm.
All respect, Bret Michaels was a great front man and had his thing, and the band was taking, you know, selling records, but it's not like Bret was, you know, had the most soaring vocal ability on the planet. You know, when you had Sebastian, and then the same with
Yeah.
Bret Michaels or Vince Neil or even David Lee Roth. But when Sebastian walks out, he's got the look, he's
Yes.
got the hair, he's got the voice, he's got the face, he had it all. You know, I mean, he was rock and roll personified, you know. I mean, and he stayed that way, you
Yeah.
know, to this day. He's still screaming and yelling or kicking and screaming or whatever you want to call it. So I don't think there's a better guy for the job than Sebastian, and my respect to them and him and everybody involved.
Yeah. Absolutely. My thoughts as well. And I think it's having Dee's blessing the way that Dee has delivered that in the
Yeah.
media is incredible. And
And
yeah, I think it'll be a perfect fit and such a great opportunity for Sebastian.
let me tag that with this as well. To anybody out there that might be watching this interview and hearing this segment, when Pantera decided to go out with Zach,
Mm.
when Journeys continued with Arnell,
Yeah.
Quiet Riot, Warrant, Great White, Firehouse, even Skid Row with their different singers. Um, Kiss reuniting, returning, whatever you want to call it. Motley Crue again, now with John Five. And you see all these people online complaining. Let me use the Pantera one for an example. As big as that is, globally,
Yeah.
the brothers are gone. Phil's still here, and we also have Rex. And I've seen all it's a money grab. Oh, these guys, how shameful, how disgusting, Do you know how many people are eating because of the Pantera reunion? How many men and women are paying their bills because of that reunion? Not just the roadies, the sound man, the light man, the monitor man, the bus driver, the companies the people that work with Live Nation or at each venue in each city all around America and South America and Europe and Australia and Asia, Japan. The same applies with Kiss, with Firehouse, with Quiet Riot, with Warrant, with Skid Row. And when people go, oh, it's not the same. Well, we get it. We get it. We get it. It's not the same. The Green Bay Packers in 2026 are not the same team that won the Super Bowl in 1967 with Bart Starr. The
Exactly.
Green Bay Packers are not the same football team that won the Super Bowl with Brett Favre in 1997 or with Aaron Rodgers in 2011. But they're still fans, and we can remember the heroes and what they did yesteryear, and we can also appreciate what's happening today. And when you talk about Vegas and plays, and whether it's the Blue Man Group or this, Trans-Siberian Orchestra, rest in peace to Paul O'Neill, who was the mastermind behind Sabotage and TSO, and fun fact, also was one of the partners that signed Tuff to our record deal in 1990. So Paul O'Neill was a friend of ours. He told us about this in the 90s.
Yeah.
I thought he was out of his mind. And I'd venture to bet that a lot of people that know Paul or knew him would
Yeah.
say, you're right, Stevie, Paul was out of his fucking mind.
Yeah.
But what TSO has become globally, or I should say internationally in America, is just massive. At
Yeah.
the end of the day, Twisted Sister going out and playing these big shows, whether they do 5, 10, or 50 over the next 2 or 3 years, it's not just JJ French and Eddie Ojeda or Sebastian who are going to put money in their pockets.
No.
There's people
No.
that will work for those bands, that will drive, that will print merchandise. The women that work at that festival that night and serve hot dogs, part of the reason they're getting paid is because Twisted Sister is coming to town with Sebastian Bach. So to all the haters, fucking eat a dick.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely indeed. Now, we will have to wrap this one up. Just before we do go, obviously, your third time out to Australia on this tour with Trixter and Lorraine Lewis, which kicks off next week, late next week. You're, as you mentioned before, you're on a plane due to arrive here on Tuesday. So we have Melbourne, Brisbane, and Sydney. Brisbane being the first show of the run. We're looking forward to having you out here. We can't wait, and I can't wait to hear the Tuff catalogue again delivered the way that you do, and only you can do. Just for future thought, Stevie Rachelle's fourth time to Australia. Who should that be with?
Sebastian Bach. Whoever,
Absolutely, yeah.
Whoever wants me, I'm hoping this fall I'll be going to Brazil. We got some shows on the West Coast this summer. We're going to do the Whiskey A Go Go with Michael Lean for the first time since who knows, somewhere 35 years ago. And we have some other shows coming up, across America, and I think I'll be in Europe at some point in the late summer as well. But I appreciate you and all your help, and to everybody out there in Australia, come and get a ticket. Come to the shows. Of course, once we're at the airport, we'll text everybody and let you know. And when we land, we're on the ground. Myself and Lorraine flying in from LA. Steve and PJ and the guys are flying in from, I'm guessing, New Jersey, so they'll probably be on a different set of flights, but we're all looking forward to it. It'll be their first time for Trixter and for Lorraine, so please come on out, show them some love. We're all going to have merchandise, t-shirts, vinyls, CDs, come and say hello, support the bands. And to anybody going, it's a work night, fucking eat a dick. Sorry about my language. We come to the other side of the planet, 13,000 miles, first time ever for the two of these bands.
Turn up.
Man up.
Man up
Stay
and
out a
turn
little
up.
late,
Yeah.
have a coffee in the morning and go to work, but come out and support, because if you don't support, then these shows ain't coming. So that's just the matter of fact, you know.
Absolutely. All right, Stevie, thank you so much for your time, my friend. I'll see you in Melbourne. As I said, can't wait. And yeah, travel safe, my friend.
Andrew, we'll see you there. Thank you so much.
No worries. Thanks, Stevie. Have an amazing
Okay,
day.
buddy. Bye
Thanks,
bye.
mate.